So you've spent a week practicing the handwriting patterns. So what we're going to do next is practice doing the same handwriting practice using a slope board or section, and we'll use the same pattern going across the board. So you're going to need a board pen, your whiteboard, and something that slopes. You can see here that I'm using a sloped section. It could be a cardboard piece that actually is shorter at this end, higher at this end, and the idea is if you can write already, which obviously you can, and you need to improve your handwriting, perhaps it's how you position your paper that's making a difference. So I'm going to use this board just so that I can do the handwriting practice without having to worry about my hand being against the board. Sloping the board is going to allow the freedom at the bottom of the wrist, and that's what you're aiming for this handwriting bit. Are you ready? We're going to begin with using the pattern that we've already looked at, that you've already used, which is also thinking about sloping it. Can you see here that my hand is actually not directly on the board? As you can see, my pen is higher up, and if I can just angle the video for you, when I start to write, I'm writing quite freely and I'm moving quite easily across the board. So let's have a look at a wider angle of that. You can see my board there, my hand is further up, my wrist is free because I've got that angle of the board, and I'm going to follow through with the handwriting practice. When I get to the end, I'm finding this quite easy. I'm going to pick up my pen, go back to the beginning, and this is easier for me to do because in actual fact I have dyspraxia, and this is a condition that means that it's very difficult for me to angle my hand correctly to write. So I find it a lot easier if I have a sloped board. You might use a sloped piece of cardboard, or you might decide to actually just angle your board so that it helps you write. And you can see that I'm left-handed, and the ease in which I can now move my hand across the board much more fluently than before. And I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom of the board, and you can see that part of the practice is increasing your speed. And for me, just allowing my wrist to be off the table and off the board, but having this sloped, almost tabletop, small tabletop to help me means that I can write in a much neater way. So I'm just going to finish this last pattern. It's like writing a number of U's. And the reason we're still doing the U pattern is because I want to get you to practice moving your hand. So the movement is free the wrist, so it's not leaning on the table. If you've used something like I have, a sloped section, then your wrist automatically is off the board. I find that easier to move, and we're actually doing left to right because that's the way that we read, and that's the way that we should write when we join. And we're basically doing this movement from the top, down, round, up, down, round, up, down, round, up. And what I want you to do in covering the whole board is to actually see how quickly you can now do that. And what I want to see at the end is, can you write a complete board of this pattern without actually sloping downwards? So we're having a look at whether using a sloped section to write improves your handwriting. And I'll see you next lesson when we look at the next stage. Bye now.